Well, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Willie Lawson of Fightback 2020, and Fightback 2020 is a production of Fightbackmedia.com, Fightbackmedia.com, Fightbackmedia.com. I have not posted a video here on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you see this, because the last couple of ones that I posted were kind of personal to me. The one on Ahmaud Arbery and the one about the horrific, and I mean horrific, uh, Florida uh, unemployment website. So, but today, this 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 world is never it's just never at a loss for crazy stuff. Apparently, your boy Joe Biden was on the Charlemagne show, and as they're saying goodbye, he says something outrageous. I'm going to play that for you here in a little bit. He says something completely outrageous, but it goes to, frankly, I think that forgetting that this is Uncle Joe being Uncle Joe, but it goes to a larger question. The larger question is, how is it that we have in our community designed a narrative that you can be black on a scale when no other minority group or majority group has the very same narrative? Like, you can't be Asian on a scale, you can't be Chinese on a scale. If you don't do this, then you're not really Chinese. You can't be white on a scale. Sorry, Sean King. Sorry, Rachel Dolezal. You can't be white on some scale. I mean, you can't. Only, only in the black community is the narrative even tolerated that you can be black to some degree or to some lesser degree. That's the question that we have to. That's the question that we have to address. And this is the clip of Joe Biden and his remarks. Just curious as to what you think.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Decided that me and my friend Paul Swanson would come back. Paul Swanson is my teammate here at Fightback Media, and we would bat this around a bit because this is a narrative that we've been dealing, that we've both heard for a while, especially coming out of the Democrat camp, about that black people are voting that are supposed to vote Democrat because, I don't know, we owe them something, and this is a continuation of just that thought. Paul, welcome, and it's good to see you. I'm glad things are there's actually water in the lake now as opposed to being covered in ice.
That's true. In fact, it wasn't completely covered in ice even all winter. So
Really?
there's water in it. There are boats floating around on it. Not exactly right now, but because it's dark.
Dark. You float around in the dark if you don't have to, right?
Well, no, you don't have to. But yeah, no, it's and it's, as we were talking earlier, it's the start of the Memorial Day weekend, and this is a Memorial Day weekend unlike any other Memorial Day weekend that people have experienced in the past few years, maybe in their lifetime. I don't know, but I think people are, they kind of sort of know what to do, but they're not sure, and so whatever. But yeah, folks are getting out. Businesses are opening, and things are on the on-ramp to being back to normal. I would say.
Well, good. At least at least they found the sign that leads to the on-ramp.
Yeah.
You're not on the on-ramp yet, but it's over there. It's coming in a bit. When you drive on the interstate, you see, that exit to that on-ramp is coming. So I think you're right. I think we're starting to see that. Like we mentioned earlier before we started taping, Florida is on the on ramp because that's how we do.
Yeah.
We're on the on ramp. We're catching a lot of abuse from the national press because you see pictures of beaches that are packed. Well, I'll tell you why. Because vitamin D is good for you. UV rays are bad for viruses. Yep. And like I said, it was 95 degrees today in my front yard. The sun shined, and then at the end of the day, it poured down rain. I mean, thunderous rain for like 15 minutes.
Oh my!
And then the sun went down. Florida. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. I mean, thunder, lightning, 15 minutes. And now it's beautiful.
We could use some of that here, but I think it's going to be late into the weekend before we get any. But
so that's how things are here.
There's the weather. There's the weather report from Florida and northern Wisconsin.
Y'all can all go to bed now. But no, a lot of us woke up to this because Vice President Biden was on the a radio program called The Breakfast Club, and
which alliteration and what market and which city and what time?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of them called just that. But
those have been, the Breakfast Club has been around probably since you or I have been doing radio for.
Oh, I'm sure, no doubt. But this particular Breakfast Club is a national program that's really is popular, especially with Black people around the country. And one of the hosts of the Breakfast Club is a guy named who's named himself Charlemagne the God. And Charlemagne the God is more of the political person in this grouping of this sort of, I don't want to demean them by using this term, but if you've done radio, you'll understand what I'm saying. This sort of Q Morning Zoo sort of thing that they do. Now, they don't do characters like the Q Morning Zoo, but you know what, you listen to the radio, it seems like there's 700 people in the studio. It's kind of that. And it's just kind of this back and forth, talk over each other kind of thing. Weirdly enough, is extremely popular. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. The Morning Zoo is simply what MSNBC took from the audio side of the house and put on as Morning Joe.
Pretty much.
You know, okay, let's throw a bunch of people into a room with microphones and cameras and see if anything happens.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan. So this, it is sort of the visual version of the Q Morning Zoo.
Yeah,
but this program is extremely, this program around the country. The Breakfast Club is extremely popular. They've got podcasts on that they air on YouTube, extremely popular. And former Vice President Biden was on this morning, and that's where you saw the clip that we just played. Vice President Biden was on, and
from his basement.
I guess from his basement, from a bunker that no one knows where Uncle Joe is. And as they were,
does he.
And as they were finishing up, Charlemagne invited the vice president back because it was a fairly short segment. Like, the entire segment was like 17 minutes. And if you watch the whole video, basically Biden rambles in Biden fashion through most of it, and Charlemagne doesn't really get to ask any probing questions or anything. It's just Joe rambling for most of the time. But as they were finishing up, you see what Joe Biden says. Biden says this, and I paraphrase: "If you're still having trouble deciding between me and Trump, then you're not Black."
Was it black or not black enough?
No, not Black.
But not Black, okay.
Because I watched it a bunch of times, and I edited it so I could go over not Black, not Black, not Black. Yeah. So you're not Black.
Ah, got it. Okay.
So I thought immediately, so the 77-year-old white guy gets to decide if I'm Black. And this is, and when I heard this, I thought, well, this is not the first time that I've heard, especially someone on the left, try to decide if somebody was black, somebody who was black or African American or whatever, ADOS. I've heard this before, and like I said, you know, in the beginning of this, it seems like black people are the only people in this country that allow this narrative to exist. It's nobody else, no other racial minority does. The Japan, nobody from Asia, the Japanese, the Filipinos, the Chinese, none of them do. People from Africa don't allow this to go on. They don't accept that narrative or even talk about that narrative being true. Nobody from some South or Central America, starting from Mexico all the way down to Chile, or Chile, because we call it Chile now. When I grew up, we used to call it Chile.
That's right.
But now it's Chile. It's like when Tony Dorsett was in college. His you know, when was it? Oh, when he was in college, his name was Tony Dorsett. But when he got to the Cowboys, his name now was Tony Dorsett.
That's right.
And everybody just kind of went with it. So nobody else, no other racial group is talked about in that same way, except for black people, and especially when it comes to the black community's association with the Democrat Party.
Right.
And like I said later, if you watch the my video on YouTube, or if you watch it on Facebook, you know, is it just Uncle Joe being Uncle Joe, or is it one of those things, Paul, that when you're off script and you're not that good at being, as you know what, off the cuff,
spontaneous, extemporaneous,
does the truth just fall out of what you believe, just falls out of your face, and there's nothing you can do about it? Because I know Joe has been spending all day running around. Well, not running around. They've been trying. I mean, the left has been trying to cover this up like a cat covering up, you know what,
yep,
all day long. And they've called in every single solitary, what we call in my community, every go-to Negro, to try to soothe and cover this up. And there are people who are saying it was a joke, and on and on and on. When you saw this clip this morning, because you're right, it came out about 7:30 this morning, because the Breakfast Club is a one of those drive time programs. How did you think the day would work out when you heard this? Now, I'm sure there was a face plant. You're like, oh. You're like, really?
Well, yeah, it's probably only because I hadn't had enough coffee yet. Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, so, you know, there's old creepy Uncle Joe at it again. It was rather blatant. It wasn't just, it wasn't his flub about, you know, he couldn't remember the start of the, you know, the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, and, you know, the dog-faced pony soldiers, or, you know, it wasn't one of those type of things. It did seem, yes, very deliberate, very pointed. And maybe his eyesight is better than his, you know, his brain working, but he looked and understood that the guy who was, you know, was interviewing him was black. And yeah, you just sort of look at that and go, he obviously wasn't thinking. Yeah, it was an off the cuff remark that maybe it was the, you know, just the truth coming out as Joe knows it. But, you know, Joe has a habit of pointing out minority groups, if you will. He did the same thing, if we remember, a few years back with the Indian community and all of the,
you can't go into a 7-Eleven or a motel without hearing an Indian accent.
Yeah.
That is actually my favorite. I mean, like I said, that's what the thing is. That's what all that is. I mean, it's very simple. If you have trouble figuring it out, if you have trouble figuring out if you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. And again, there you go with the forced affectations as well.
Yes.
And we saw that forced affectation with Hillary Clinton with I ain't in no ways tired.
And let's not forget carrying the little bottle of hot sauce
And
along with you.
she carries hot sauce in her purse. Okay. I don't know. Let me help y'all. I don't know one black person that carries hot sauce in their purse.
No, you ask for it at the
I
restaurant.
know a lot of people. I know a lot of black people. Not one of them carries hot sauce in their purse. Not one woman carries hot sauce in their purse. They just don't. They just don't. So you only go somewhere that you've been before that has the hot sauce, that Louisiana hot sauce that you like.
That's right.
Don't take it with you. Nobody does that. You know what? Black women aren't Medea.
No.
Now, Medea takes hot sauce in her purse. Medea also carries a gun. But
that's a whole nother issue.
Oh, I love this. I like my piece, so I keep my piece of steel, Medea says in a movie. But no. So we're back with these affectations that are supposed to somehow, I don't know, endear you, make you cool. I'm not sure. I'm guessing yes, that they're supposed to endear people, make them cool, make them relatable somehow, and that I'm supposed to, as the black person, go, yeah, all right, okay. She ain't in no ways tired. Me either, sister. I ain't in no ways tired. And I got my hot sauce. I got my hot sauce right here. You know what? And suddenly the senator from Maryland is using the word ain't. You ain't black, really? Like that use of the word, that use of that word is supposed to reflect somebody black. What's
or a commoner
or a common person? No, most people use that word. Most people use that word correctly, because ain't is just a contraction of am not.
Yeah.
And all the black people I know who use the word ain't, and I am amongst them, we all use it correctly. And you ain't black is not used grammatically correct.
No.
Yeah, I guess I'm a grammar Nazi. But if you're going to use the word ain't, please use it correctly.
Yeah, use it in its proper context.
That would be helpful.
That would be helpful. Well, and I noticed. Well, I think it in the larger picture, Willie. I think it goes to the Democratic, statist, leftist folks, whoever we want to call them, continuing to play not only the race card, but also identity politics. It's not about America. It's not about the citizens of America. It's not about the nation as a whole. They have to focus on individuals, and the easiest way for them to do it is to focus on whoever's standing or sitting, or to whomever they're speaking directly. So they bring that up, and I see it more and more in the news stories that we're getting, or a lot of the news stories that we're getting, that we get if they're talking about, especially given the the pandemic-ish stuff that's been going on, the problem areas that I read about, maybe you are too, anybody who's protesting or ask or on the news to talk about this horrible stuff that's going on, they preface it with it's being unduly impacting communities of color, something of that nature. So they don't know how to say it's impacting the communities here in Milwaukee or in Madison or wherever. It's not about the overall community. It's a very niche, specific community. And I think the same thing with Joe. Hey, I've got a black radio host in front of me. That's what came out of his mouth, because that was the first thing that
Greg Gutfeld said something I thought was interesting. and I love Greg Gutfield. I think he's funny as heck. But
Yeah.
he said that if you watch the whole thing, it's that Joe Biden and Charlemagne the God were in this conversation, and Joe just got too comfortable. It was like, you know what, these guys, they were just talking, because Charlemagne didn't really get much chance to ask any probing questions. He didn't get to ask any questions about, so what about, Joe, you did reauthorize, along with almost everybody else in Congress, the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act. Yes, but everybody did that. So that it isn't like you were a trailblazer, dude. I mean, you didn't enact it to start with, but yes, I guess you signed on like everybody else, but you didn't have any chance to ask, what about mass incarcerations that you went along with of Black people? What about programs that Trump has put in place to revamp the prison system? He didn't get a chance to ask any of those probing questions. This was just 17 minutes of Orange Man bad, and look at my record. Look how, it reminded me of, I don't know if you've seen this. There's the scene in Color Purple where Miss Millie says to Oprah Winfrey's character, "I've always been so good to you people." And that's the sort of that mentality. Look at what I've done for you, and somehow you deserve my vote.
You're not grateful.
Yeah, you're not grateful. You know what? I deserve your vote. I deserve it. I've already done the work. I deserve it. And I don't think that's going to play very well, actually. Now, a lot of the black conservatives, of course, are up in arms and furious. Tim Scott, not this Scott. This is my wife's family name. But and no, and we're not related. Dang nabbit. But Tim Scott says it was one of the most egregious things and offensive things that he's heard in a long time, along with a number of other Black people who are not on the left. Unfortunately, though, it didn't sit that well with Black progressives either. Now, is it going to be an issue that lasts the weekend? Probably not.
No, yeah, and as we were talking earlier, I think that it came out early enough on Friday that it really did cover the entire news cycle for the day. And it was probably we don't have a terrestrial TV here, so it probably was the lead thing on every newscast, through the dinner hour for most folks. And there'll probably be some hangers on that pick it up tomorrow and maybe through the weekend. It may be touched on the Sunday news shows, and as I mentioned to you, Joe made a wonderful Moab type gaffe early enough in the day that I'm just wondering what, historically, if any I don't say news entity, but anybody who's newsworthy wants to release some stuff that might be a little less than honorable, might be a little shady, might be not be thought of in the best light. They generally release it on Friday afternoon because people are busy on other things, and hey, it's going to be the weekend and it's just going to sort of slide under the radar with folks. But I'm just wondering what might have been released or what might have occurred that wasn't covered because of good old creepy Uncle Joe being the gaffe master that he is to the nth degree this morning.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've been trying to convince people of here recently is that the fact is that a lot of us, especially people on the right, we don't trust the news media. We don't trust you. You know what? The pushback on all the COVID stuff, we don't. But it isn't that people on the right are science deniers. As a matter of fact, just the opposite. A lot of people on the right are people who are pioneers of science and believe the science and believe the numbers. But what we don't believe is what we've been being told, because we can see that it doesn't match up with the science. We can see that it matches more up with an agenda, an economic agenda, and a political agenda than anything else. So that's where the pushback is. And you're right, Paul. This weekend the news cycle will be dominated with Florida beaches. I can guarantee it, because the beaches are open and people are going to be out, and that's all there is to it. And people are going to be out, and the numbers say, especially in Florida, that it's going to be okay. It's going to be fun. But you're right. There may be something else that came out. We talked a little bit about the audio tape of Joe Biden talking to the Ukrainian president after the original videotape that everyone's seen. That came out, I think, yesterday or late last night, and that would have been great to have in a news cycle all day. But here on Fightback 2020 and the morning program, on the morning show, you're gonna hear it Monday. I freaking guarantee it. So you'll get that too. And that's the thing though. But when Joe Biden, the presumptive nominee for president of the Democrat Party, comes out with these sort of, and we call them gaffes, like they are. I mean, like they are important, but these sort of statements, it is amazing to me that they won't stick. And they won't stick because the media won't apply any adhesive. They won't stick.
Yeah.
When you take 13% of the American population's vote for granted, how that doesn't stick and how media doesn't apply the adhesive to make that stick is beyond me. And
Right.
I don't really think there's, and here's the sad part, I don't think there's anything that any of us can do about it, except, you know what, I'm going to run behind Joe with a bottle of Elmer's and try to get as much on him as possible, because this stuff's got to stick.
Well, yeah.
Did you hear from anybody from the GOP, from the RNC today? I mean, other than senators and other people, did you hear anything from the chair of the GOP today, or anyone like that?
Nope. And it's yeah. I think you're wearing the mask wrong. No.
I went somewhere today and a lady had a mask on. I'm not kidding, like this. All I could do was giggle.
No, I mean, I'm not sure why. Well, they don't want to pile on, I don't think. And
GOP needs to pile on.
Well, yeah, they do. And I think that, let Joe be Joe, and we don't need to point out, oh, look what he did. It's pretty much blatantly obvious to anybody with
only smart, but it's only blatantly obvious to smart people. And and what I'm going to say now is going to be horrifically offensive to a lot of people. A lot of people are not smart. A lot of people need to be beat over the head with something, because there'll be people in a week, I promise you, Paul, who will start saying that they didn't see that, and in 2 weeks there'll be people who are saying that that's not what he said at all. It was taken out of context.
Yeah. Well, because as a well-known person that you and I both know has said, you've got to get people with two working neurons and a working synapse that will be able to process all of this stuff. That they won't. They will. Yes, the majority of the American public has the attention span of a gnat or a cat. Except when they're sleeping. They seem to do that pretty well.
A cat that's not hungry.
Yeah.
Cats that are hungry can stay pretty focused.
Yeah. But I do think that, people are going to forget about it. It is going to take people like you and I. I was talking with another friend of mine in the, I don't know if you want to call it the state of Michigan, the compound of Michigan, the internment
Gretchen
state.
is out of control, by the way.
But I mean, we were talking about somewhat similar things earlier today, that it's going to take people like us and independent journalists and independent reporters, independent thinkers, people who are capable of critical thinking, of reading and interpreting what has been put out to make this stuff, really stick. Because the mainstream media is an arm of, it's the public affairs arm of the DNC.
It is, and you can see them today. Again, like I said earlier, they were busier. They're like cats covering up, what, all day long, trying to get to this person or that person or that person to sort of assuage and take the sting out of what he might have said, or what he actually did say. What you didn't see them doing was running to people like, I don't know, Brandon Tatum, Alfonso Rachel, Herman Cain, Fox News did go to Tim Scott, obviously. You didn't see any of that. You didn't see any of that. You didn't see any of them trying to find vocal Black conservatives and go, "What do you think about this statement?" There was none of that. There was zero of that. None, because they want to push it down and mollycoddle it, and then again, so everybody can just have a laugh. That Joe Biden fella, he's a hoot, isn't he? And the fact of the matter is that no, at some point, Paul, at some point we're just going to have to be at least as aggressive as they are. Now, I know that we don't want to. I know that people on the right don't want to do a lot of the same activities, obviously, but at least in independent media, and we don't have to be Alex Jones. Although, what we're finding out more and more is a lot of things that Alex Jones has talked about, not all of them have been wrong. He's not been wrong on everything. I still think he's a little outside on the chemtrails, but that's just the whole Illuminati chemtrails thing. He kind of loses me on it, but he's not been wrong about everything. But I think that it's up to us to be a little bit more aggressive, especially now with so much at stake, that we have got to make some of these things stick, and we've got to make Joe Biden as sticky a character as possible, because there's a lot of stuff that's come out recently, and it's coming out now, and probably came out today, that they're going to find a way, media's going to find a way that none of this is going to stick to him. And it isn't just so Trump wins the election. That's not so important to me as that the damage that has been done to the Republic, and that will continue to be done to the Republic if we don't hold certain people accountable. I don't have any dream or any thought that at any point in my lifetime there'll be frog marching former President Obama and Hillary Clinton in the federal prison in orange jumpsuits. I don't believe for a minute that's going to happen. I don't think it would be necessarily good for the country to be frog marching our former president of the United States in a federal prison. I just don't think that's going to happen. But there are people that need to be held accountable, or at least need to be held at bay, not to get back in those same positions. And
Yes.
Joe Biden is one of them. Because with Joe Biden is not the problem; it's the people that come with Joe Biden are the problem.
Yeah, it's the baggage, it's the hangers on, the people who are on the coattails, because he's got a lot of it, because he's been in the Congress since what, 1973, mid 70s, somewhere around in that area.
I was in junior high school. And think about that. Think about it. He was in Congress since 73. I'm 59, and he was in Congress when I was a kid, literally when I was a child.
Yep.
Y'all didn't fix it. Y'all didn't fix it then, and now you got all the answers.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't buy it. I do not buy it.
I don't buy any of it.
Nope.
None of it. All right, so we will be the morning report will be back on Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeart.com, Castbox, you name it. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts,
all the usual suspect places.
Wherever you get podcasts for free. Going to say wherever you pay for podcasts, wherever you get podcasts for free, the morning report will be on there. We try to get it published by 9, but sometimes that doesn't happen. You can go to fightbackmedia.com, 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 and see all of our assets there, including the Swanson report. The Swanson report is Paul's personal blog where he blogs and writes and thinks, and it's fabulous. And while you can go there, you can actually subscribe, and you can also, because Paul likes coffee, you can buy him a cup of coffee. That'd be cool.
Right. That's right.
You know,
that's right.
Coffee occasionally will encourage a fellow, right?
I will acknowledge you. You actually used the tools that were there to buy me a cup of coffee. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, and a cup of coffee will encourage a fellow. So.
That's right.
You want to do that. You want to do that every now and again. And again, all the other assets, the YouTube channel, the Fightback 2020 blog, the morning report, and our and some of our partners. We got Kevin and Janelle Batts of Red River TV and 46 News. That's cool.
We need to have them on. Did you see what Janelle had posted earlier or later this afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they're getting hit by Facebook from a 2-year-old post.
Yeah. It's
so we need to, and that unfortunately that is going on way too much. I mean, it's people we know. It's Tim, or what's his name, from London Real, is having issues.
Everybody is. Our friend Alfonso Reyes has been talking about this for 5 years, and basically when he puts up a Zoloft on YouTube, they don't even just throttle it anymore. They just take it down. It's become, he puts it up, and before he can get up and get a glass of water, that YouTube is taking it down. So not just keeping people from it, it's an outright ban. So so we are also posting on Clout Hub that Paul found. And so far, so good with Cloud Hub, Paul.
I seem to like. We need to find out a little more of the idiosyncrasies of the app and the platform. But there's that. I would, and you and I haven't talked about this specifically, but for Janelle and what's her husband's name? I forget. Right.
Kevin.
That's right. We ought to look at maybe starting to cross-post a BitChute so that the videos will get seen, won't get taken down. We can promote that. I know you and I have talked about, and we want to make people aware of the fact that we do have the capability of sending you directly to your mailbox, your email, a newsletter.
Yes.
So we can bypass all the editorial folks that are, speaking of cats.
I miss mine, actually.
Yeah, he's wandering around here somewhere. but we can send you a newsletter. So if you do like what we're doing, you know, we can put those things together, the videos, audio, you know, thoughts and stuff right to your mailbox. And
I think that's important. I mean, going back channel, I think is what I called it. Is super important. So if you're watching, you can go to the fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com website, and you can scroll down and you can actually send us your email address, and we can get a list together, and we can see if people want that, because I think that's the way to go. Depending on Facebook, so you could see us, not the best way. Depending on YouTube, so you could see us, not the best way. So we're going to have to be our own best promoters, not just to promote the things that you're doing, but to promote things that we're doing as well. So we also, one more thing before we go. Yeah, there's a lot. This is productivity in this drought. There are four of us as a band of Tampa Bay conservatives here where I live, and Tim Bryce and Dr. Schweier, and one other person has put together a website called tbctampa.com, tbctampa.com, which is Tampa Bay Conservatives, for Tampa Bay Conservatives. So that's tbctampa.com, where we hope to do, if you go there, we hope to do a lot of things, and Zoom town hall meetings like this, places where center right organizations can get their information put up. We've got a pretty good news editor that's culling really good news stories, a lot of stories from like American Thinker and really solid news stories and opinion pieces. So there are things happening. The thing is, there are things happening. And we hope that the other people in other places use what we're doing as a template to circumvent the mainstream media where they live. We don't have a conservative alternative in the newspaper realm here.
No.
We don't have that conservative alternative. So we're going to have to find one, or if we can't find one, we got to make one. We're sort of like the Grinch. He couldn't find a reindeer, so he made one.
Yeah.
So
well, and there's yeah, you don't have one there. There's not one for hundreds upon hundreds of miles, I'm sure, anywhere in this neck of the woods either. So
you're in Wisconsin, of course there is.
No. Although there are pockets of very good conservatism, but there, you know, where I am here on the shores of
the ass end of Canada, yes. I can see Canada from my house. Yes, goodness gracious. But so if you go to the website, go to fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. There you go. Fightbackmedia.com. My cord came out. And guess what? You're going to be able to find a lot of resources there. And we hope that you would use these resources, again, with CloudHub and BitChute and all the things that we're throwing at you to help us get the word out. It's more important now than ever. The election is in less than 200 days.
170 some odd days, I think.
And it isn't, and folks, it isn't just the White House. That's the problem. As you've heard on the morning report, the past 2 mornings, the House of Representatives are fishing for information for the second round of impeachment articles against the president.
It's still going on. Yes,
this is happening.
And let's not forget the vote by mail issue.
Yes,
which we could do hours on.
Oh my God. But
I will be writing something about that probably in the next day or so.
Excellent. Can't wait.
Well, I mean, I've already written about it, but I've got some personal experience with the issues with the USPS, and I've got a business friend who's got some inside scoop. They just closed, or they closed today, the mail processing plant that's in Denver, Colorado, that distributes all of the mail for the state of Colorado and the state of Wyoming. So none of those folks are getting mail because they had, count them, 5 people tested positive for COVID-19.
So they shut down the whole thing?
They shut down the entire plant. Processes like 10 million pieces of mail a day.
Oh,
I know you don't.
Oh, God, I believe I have the papers.
You don't have any pearls to clutch, but that's.
Oh dear. So 5 people.
Yeah, 5 people. They closed the entire thing.
So 2 states don't get mail because 5 people got a cold.
Yep. So that's a whole nother. We can do, like I said, we can do
Holy mackerel.
A full hour.
Oh.
But I'm going to be writing about. I'll be writing about that.
Can't wait to hear about that
with examples. So
we're going to talk about that. So there's lots going on.
Yep.
So please, fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. Check out all we have. The Swanson report. TimBryce.com. Tim Bryce is one of our new partners. We are excited about what we're doing with tbctampa.com. It's this production in drought that is very, very exciting. All right, Paul. Well, thanks for spending some time with me here in the early evening for you. We're looking forward to doing some more things, talking about some more stuff, getting out there and making a difference. Because while we're here, we are here to save the Republic.
Amen.
Till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you.
All right.
All right, man.